We're live, and it's Thursday, so we must be here to talk about Teen Lit and all the awesome stuff. I'm Shannon. I'm the young adult specialist here at Book People, and super into Teen Lit. And this is
I'm Lola, and I'm a bookseller and YA enthusiast.
Is that a thing? You know, one of the things we've never talked about, and since there's less like books to talk about this week, we never tell everybody like what kind of stuff in YA we read. So, what is your like favorite genre in the teen lit world?
I'll read pretty much anything, but I definitely gravitate towards like urban fantasy, even some high fantasy. I'm just really picky about high fantasy. Yeah. And I actually like teen high fantasy better than adult high fantasy.
Right.
Because
they don't spend 1,000 pages telling you what's on the table. Like they're like, it's not like, hey, they had this dinner where we're gonna kill everybody, but let me first spend 12 pages
like
telling you about what they were eating.
The beginning of that one book that like takes 5 pages to like establish that it's cold.
Yeah.
Like there's snow on the ground. I get it.
Pretty sure
let's move on. Probably.
So
I only made it through that one by the audiobooks. So.
Yeah. I actually, that was one of the papers that I did in college in Victorian literature class. My big paper for the end of the semester was about how the Victorian literature was much like everything else in the Victorian time period, too full of excess. And the person, like our dean of our department, she had actually gotten her doctorate on Dickens. And so she was like, tread carefully here with
Ouch.
what you're about to say. And I was like, oh, I will. And she's like, you better have some really good evidence. And I was like, oh, I do. And it's going to start with your boy Dickens and Bleak House. Because really that book needed to be like 30 pages long, and it's 800 and something pages long. Like, outside of Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, I don't really know books that need to be that long.
Also, I guess I have to give the Victorians a little bit of credit, because you have to understand that like the novel itself was a very new concept at the time. So even like exploring like what our minds do and how that works like through literature was a fairly
and even that particular book was actually written as serials in the newspaper and then brought together in our time period as like a novel, but like couldn't handle it. It was not something I needed to read. But I will read, 800 pages of like Sarah J. Maas, like, or Leigh Bardugo, or any of those things, like any day of the week. So definitely feel the like when it comes to adult literature, like I don't want to read that.
I look more for like unique world building, like the like Raven series. Yeah. I really like the like combination of mythology, Welsh.
Oh yeah.
Welsh? Did I say Welsh? I was thinking Welsh and myth at the same time, and it became Welsh.
And it became
Welsh mythology, because I feel like that's like one aspect of mythology that hasn't been explored as much.
Sounds like keep going on the mic.
Yeah, and I definitely like interesting combinations.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like when fantasy meets like a novel of manners or something like that. And I've been getting more into regular teen fiction too. Like I just read Fangirls. I feel like I'm about like 5 years behind all of this.
I was gonna say Fangirl is amazing.
I know. I'm sorry.
Rainbow Rowell is wonderful. Have you read Eleanor and Park at least?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because Eleanor and Park is amazing. I mean, as Fangirls, like that was a necessary read for you, so I'm glad you got there. But Eleanor and Park is just phenomenal. So
they're both just so good, and I kept this one, and I was catching up on an adult fantasy series too that I love the writer, and I kept like, my husband, I was like, you have to listen to this line, it's so good. Like there's a line in Fangirls where she was like, I don't understand why everyone talks about butterflies, or like, because I feel like I'm gonna throw up.
Yeah.
It's not like that's not at all what I feel like. It's really cute. I loved it.
Yeah, it's a great book, and it's so wonderful for if you've ever been the awkward nerd girl in the room. Fangirl is great for you. It's a wonderful experience to talk about, like, all of us are here because we read a lot of books, so it's a great way to talk about, like, people who get into their series. It's a great way to talk about fan fiction. It's great for just feeling like you don't fit in with real people, but you love your book boyfriend. Like, it's great for all of those things. And then the sort of companion novel that goes with that, which is Carry On, which is a fan fiction of a fan fiction of a fan fiction. In Fangirl, she is really obsessed with what is their world's version of Harry Potter. And you never see the actual story completely.
I would say it's like a combination of like Harry Potter and a few other things too.
But it's essentially their world, Harry Potter. Like, I mean, and they, in the world, you never obviously hear that whole story, but you see a lot of cast fan fiction towards it. And so Rainbow Rowell actually decided if she would write a fan fiction about that Harry Potter style world, what would it look like? And so Carry On is her fan fiction that would exist with this made-up thing, which is essentially Harry Potter fan fiction. So it's kind of great that she wrote fan fiction for fan fiction.
I'm very excited because at the end of Fangirls, I was like, because at the end of each chapter, it just gives you like a snippet from the fan fiction that Kath is writing, and as the book ends, like she's supposed to be like wrapping up her story before the last book in this series is published. And when the book ended, I was like, what happens to Simon?
And you'll never know because we don't read Kath's fan fiction. We read Rainbow's.
Really?
Yeah, it's not Kath's fan fiction. It's Rainbow's if she wrote a fan fiction for that. So we don't actually know what Kath's story ever is. Rainbow Rowell's favorite thing in the world to do is to leave the book with no ending. Eleanor and Park.
Yes. Oh, I'm still anxious.
I actually didn't you message me in the middle of the night?
Yes,
like, what are the 3 words? And I was like, I don't know. Nobody knows. Like, you get to make up your own 3 words and be miserable with the rest of us forever. Yeah. It's fine. So when it comes to what I read, I really do enjoy fantasy. I don't think I ever go really high fantasy, too much. Like, I think, like, I mean, I love Leave Barty Ghost, so that's probably, like, the highest.
I'm very excited we're reading that in book club because I've had it for a while, and it's also on my list of things to catch up on.
It's so good, and I exist in that world between fantasy and reality, but not quite urban fantasy. But, like, I grew up obsessed with the Wizard of Oz, so I feel like I exist in the world where fantasy can be my reality. And I mean, urban fantasy-wise, I do love Mortal Instruments. So.
I got to meet Nettie at Corofor, and she talks about that. Like, her fantasy, she's like, well, I didn't, like, set out to write fantasy. I just see the world as a magical place, and that's what I write.
Well, and that was the thing, like, I think going in for the longest time, I always thought that fantasy had to be, like, in this, like, huge other world, and it wasn't until I read, I read Harry Potter, and I was like, oh, I can just get on a train and go to magic. And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, Alice just fell through a rabbit hole. Dorothy just went into a tornado.
I'm such a nerd.
Like,
they're called portal fantasies.
Exactly. And it's true, like, it's like they don't have to be.
I wrote a
paper go to another world, or it could just be in this world. Like, there doesn't have to be. You can step through a looking glass and be in another world, and it's great. But I think, like, I also really love a lot of the contemporary novels that have been coming out, and which has been great this season because it's been really heavy contemporary. But I love those nerdy contemporary books like Chaotic Good and Fangirl and Geekarella. Like, they all just speak to me because that's, like, the world that I live in. So
I wish that those books had existed whenever I was growing up. Like, Fangirl, like, I just resonated so deeply with me because I was Levi and Kath in one person. Like, I grew up doing 4-H and, like, country, and then I went to college and got, like, more into writing. And I had been writing basically Harry Potter fan fiction in the form of, like, play-by-post RPGs online for years before I went to college, and then went to college and got into writing and left the, like, country part behind. And it was just... I love that book, and I wish I had that book to, like, feel better about myself when I was at that stage. Like, I just would have died in college to be like, it's okay.
True. If you guys have a book that you read as an adult that you wish you would have had when you were a teen, you should tell us in the comments, because I love to hear about, like, the book that, even at, like, Fangirl, like, where it's not necessarily, like, a super heavy book, but it's like, oh, I wish I would have had this moment to identify with this character, like, as a kid. You should tell us. Like, there are obviously, like, the super, like, heavy ones. Like, I mean, Speak. Like, I wish every teenage girl had that book when they were when they were 13. But I think that there's also a lot to be said for some of these other books that really help you figure out who you are too. So, speaking of books, we don't have a lot of new releases this week, but we do have a couple of cool things. For one, we've got, as you guys know, Emma Burkess was here last weekend. We told you a million times that it was going to be amazing, and guess what? It was. We were right. So, Devil's Unto Dust just came out last week, and she was here signing, so we do have signed copies. So, for all of my Westworld, Walking Dead fans, you need to come pick up this West Texas zombie style book. It's going to be amazing, very True Grit-esque, and it's going to be awesome, and you can get it signed. And I'm all about the signed book. I think most of my books on my bookshelf are signed. It's kind of like a thing I have to do.
I wish I couldn't find my copy of The Cotta Witch whenever I met Nadia Corafor, and I was like, I'm not really into signed books. It's fine. But no, apparently Nadia Corafor like signs the book and then she doodles art all over. It was so cool. It was like the coolest thing I've ever seen someone do, and I was like,
I love when people read my books.
I should have.
Well, speaking of, this book is also signed. Carolyn Cohagen was here for Time Next, which is the sequel in her sci-fi thriller world. And so this one, you guys have to check it out. It's the sequel to Time Zero, and we're fundamentalists taking over Manhattan. Now they're like unbound modern community that needs shelter, on the run, lots of things, trying to figure out like where to go next. This is a great book for anybody who's into that like futuristic, where's the world going kind of thing. And another signed copy, and there are quite a few of both of these, but you don't want to miss it. And since we're talking about things you don't want to miss out on,
we don't ever charge extra for signed copies by like a lot of people think that we
really?
That you do.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I never even thought of that. I guess because I've been getting signed copies of books at Book People for like over 12 years, so it never even occurred to me that.
And you can always get them online too.
Yes,
order them even if you're not local.
Yeah, we will ship those to you. So if you want signed copies of them, you can order them online, or free gift with purchase if you buy I Have Lost My Way, which also signed by Gail Foreman. You can get what Lola's got in her hands, which is an awesome little bag. I like to say pencil bag. I think most people would call them makeup bags.
I think of it as a pencil bag too.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. It could go both ways, I guess, but it's a great size for Post-it.
It's like a cute canvas too, like real natural looking.
And it's such a great like Gail Foreman quote. Like that's like just one of those like you expect to be in a Gail Foreman book. Like how you explain something as inexplicable as love. That's just a straight Gail Foreman moment. And then we do have 2 new releases this week that are on the shelves. This is 2, not 4. I don't know why I'm putting both sets of hands up there. Sets of hands, both hands. There's just one set. Anyway, we have 2 new books for you this week, and they're very different in their nature from each other, but also kind of live in that world I was talking about where like fantasy, sci-fi, reality all kind of blur together. The first one is In Her Skin. There it is. And it's Kim Savage, and this is...
The title sounds very interesting.
The title is very interesting, and so is the point of the book. It's one of those where the 15-year-old main character has been doing a lot of impersonating, like to get by. She's been living on the streets, and she kind of does that whole like, oh, like fake ID, this is who I am kind of thing, to like steal stuff from people. And so she actually finds an opportunity for a wealthy family who has lost their daughter who's about her age, and so she fakes being this girl who disappeared. The girl disappeared when she was 9 and would be the same age as Joe, who's the main character, and so she pretends to be this person. And she is like doing the miraculous return, goes in, and she's got everything she'd ever want: love, money, proximity to intoxicating and unpredictable daughter. But nothing is as it seems, and some secrets refuse to stay buried. Hidden crimes come to the surface, and lines of deception begin to blur. She must either choose to hold on to the illusion or escape the danger around her before it's too late. And there's been a lot of really dark contemporary stories recently, and I kind of love it. And we've been talking about this on the kids' floor here, that the mystery in YA is growing a lot. There's been we've had a whole mystery like shelving section for a while that like we had special displays on because the mystery like for the first time we started to see a lot of like really big mystery books coming out outside of just like right before Halloween kind of thing. So
well, he used to be like only not even middle grade but younger than middle grade. I feel like there was not a lot of mystery in between like adult mysteries and like little
books.
Kid, and there's chapter books.
Yeah, those first chapters, they love to do that, like even a little bit like into the older chapter books, but it's nice to see it starting to grow into the YA world because there's so much that like when you're in that teen age, like there's so much you think you understand that you don't. And there's so much you get involved in, and it's like kind of feel like it's perfect because I mean, I grew up obsessed with Scooby-Doo, so of course I thought teenagers solved murders all the time. I'm really surprised that they don't. I mean,
did you see the Scooby-Doo Supernatural over?
I didn't. My mom has messaged me a million times. I don't watch Supernatural.
I read all about it online though, but it sounds cute.
I don't watch Supernatural. I did, but then it kept going, and so.
But they're bringing back Charlie.
Yeah, I've heard that, which is fantastic.
Which I might start watching it again. Sorry.
Yeah.
Totally unbook related.
But it's fine. I don't watch
Supernatural also has fan fiction.
They do a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. That is a very big.
An interesting theme.
Yes, that is a very, very big world for fan fiction. So if you
I can talk about that one if you want.
Yeah, I was gonna hand it to you because I know you're really excited about this book.
Number one, just like look at this.
Like we didn't undress it, so you should undress it and see. Because anytime they put that much foil on the cover.
No, just
like, a little. Ooh, the spine is pretty though. Yeah. Foily spine.
So this one is Suitors and Sabotage. It's like a Jane Austen-esque like novel of manners. The main character, Imogen, is an artist, aspiring artist, and it's set in that Jane Austen era. And some guys, it's got a very similar like Jane Austen vibe, and like some guys show up. The guy she was like attracted to is not like the one that's like intended for her.
Of course.
But then it gets better than a Jane Austen novel because there's also a mystery. Like someone is trying to kill him.
Mystery.
And they have to figure out like who is trying to kill this guy. And Ben Steeple, the charming Ben Steeple, he's an architectural apprentice who has no drawing aptitude. So she offers to teach him to draw, and then he like is attracted to her because artists are sexy. But yeah, somebody's trying to kill him for unknown reasons, and it sounds very cute. If you liked the Gail Carriger's Finishing School, although that's more fantasy, but it still has that like novel of manners kind of. I think you would like this too, and I think
or like My Lady Jane, or even
I don't think it's
Gentleman's
a sequel,
Guide.
but she has another book, Duets and Deceptions. Duels and Deceptions. I can't read. Duels and Deceptions.
It's really scripty.
So I think it's like some like companion. What it sounds like. Very cute.
But Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, like anything if you like that like mixture of those worlds.
Oh,
like
speaking of that era, there's a book coming out in May called Brightly Burning that is Jane Eyre set in space.
Nice. That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah. It's getting a lot of buzz. I'm excited about it. I'm starting it this week.
Just talking to the Teen Press Corps this last weekend. We had our Teen Press Corps meeting, and for everything they were like, "What if we just put it in space?" Like all of a sudden, they just want everything to be in space. Like they were like, "Hear us out. This is like, cause we have the Texas Teen Book Festival coming up in October, and it's the 10th anniversary." And they were like, if it's going to be the 10th anniversary, we got to go big. What about TTBF in space? And I was like, oh, we'll work on that, guys. This is also right after their usual request of, can we get J.K. Rowling? And I'm like, no. They're like, what if she just comes to one of our meetings? And I'm like, still no. Like, not ever going to happen. But J.K., if you're watching, there are a bunch of teenagers in Texas who are constantly asking me for you to come by. Because apparently we're on like a first name basis. So they're like, hey, can you stop
We're both adults. So.
We're both adults, so we must know each other. Go ahead.
sorry, another Jane, because the reason that the Jane Austen, other than like Charlotte Bronte and Jane Austen were contemporaries, her Alexa Dunn, the author of Brightly Burning, her next book has already been announced, and it's based on Persuasion.
Oh, nice.
Which is like a lesser known Jane Austen book,
which is
but
funny
still
because
very
it's
good.
one of the ones that I think everybody I know who's a Jane Austen fan will tell you that that's actually their favorite.
Yes, yeah.
So
the sexiest love letter ever.
Yeah.
So. And it's again like Persuasion set in space. So
that's the key. So since I brought up the Teen Press Corps and we don't have as many like suggestions this week, I thought I would tell you some of their suggestions. So a couple weeks ago we talked about Mun Mun, and one of the Teen Press Corps members is actually reading that and is a huge fan of Jesse Andrews, but also is just really into his concept. So Mun Mun is kind of like an Oliver Twist kind of story in the future. But it's like if you mix Oliver Twist and that Justin Timberlake Out of Time, In Time, whatever squad where they had like the time counters.
I loved that movie.
Yeah, it's kind of like we mix those two together.
No one has ever seen that movie.
I love that movie.
I thought it was so good.
And so they do in that world, like however skinny you are is how like determines how like your wealth is determined by the size of like your body, and so like these skinny kids are trying to get more food and more wealth essentially by like getting bigger.
Because Everlist, Sarah Holland's book has a similar like time.
Yeah.
Is related to like blood. That came out a couple months ago, a month or two ago.
Yeah, so that one was really good, and of course we've got a ton of Teen Press Corps members who are rereading Ready Player One because they either just saw or are about to see the movie. Tradition by Brandon Kiley is one of those that's coming up pretty soon. We've got a couple of Teen Press Corps members who are like reading a lot of the classics again. So To Kill a Mockingbird is one that's on school right now. One of our Teen Press Corps members is rereading The Shining, and also reading a study called Bruce Wayne the Murderer, and it's about whether or not like Batman really is a good guy, I believe is what she said. So I'm really curious. But yeah. It's a series, I guess, Bruce Wayne Murderer. So yeah, interesting. Simon versus the Homo Sapien Agenda, which is actually our book club read for the adults who read Teen Lit. It's the second start of the Right Book Club. We'll be doing Simon versus the Homo Sapien Agenda this coming up book club meeting, which is the first Wednesday in May. So we meet at 7 in the third floor, as long as it's available at Book People. If not, we'll be in the cafe. But we meet and we are going to talk about the book, the movie, the book versus the movie. I have not seen the movie, so feel free to come in and spoil it for me. All of those things. I don't care about spoilers. If I care about spoilers, I'll tell you. It's very rare. But I don't really care. Like I think before Age of Ultron came out, somebody saw it before me, like because I did promotion for it, and then I didn't see the movie till midnight, and like I had friends that saw it at 7, and they were like, "Do you want to know who dies?" And I was like, if it's not Hawkeye, then I don't care. And they were like, oh. And I was like, well, there you go.
Yeah, sometimes I have a tender heart. Like, sometimes I need someone to spoil it for me, so I'm, like, prepared.
Yeah. It's true. I sometimes just ask for that reason. Other classics, 1984. We've got people looking forward to the sequel to Carve the Mark, which we talked about last week. And we always have people either reading or looking forward to things in the Sarah J. Maas series. So yes, what are you looking forward to? One of the Teen Press Corps members said she's looking forward to Catwoman, speaking of Sarah J. Maas, which is the next book in the DC Icon series. So DC and Marvel both have been doing middle grade and teen superhero novels. And DC just released, they started with Wonder Woman, which Leigh Bardugo did, and it was amazing.
So cute.
And then Marie Lu did Batman.
Unpopular opinion, I thought that her book was better than the movie.
Oh, no, that's a popular opinion. That is, everybody loves the Leigh Bardugo Wonder Woman movie better than anything. And then Marie Lu did Batman, and then coming up this fall, Sarah J. Maas is going to have the Catwoman thing. And the greatest thing about these books is if you buy the first edition, there's actually posters in the back where it has them as like teens in regular street clothes with the shadow of their superhero self behind them. and they're I call them connecting variants. That's not it. They're not comic books. They're a connecting poster. If you get all four, that'll come in the first four of the DC icons. They'll make one large poster, which is really weird because it's the Trinity and Catwoman. Because there's the Superman book, I believe Matt Telefinger did, which is coming out in next spring, and I think it's funny because it's like the Trinity and then Catwoman, and I'm like, I feel like I'm okay with that because, you know, Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle are not going to get married in the comics, but we're supposed to believe that they are.
Batman didn't have any ladies at all.
Yeah.
And then they had Betty Kane, who was basically Batman's beard. And then Batgirl and Catwoman.
Yeah. And I'm
in the 60s.
I mean, I feel like there was like I feel like it was a great choice to do because the thing about it is like Wonder Woman and Superman are both not ever going to struggle with the choice between good and evil. Mm-hmm. Like they're not. They just don't. They're truth and hope. Like they don't struggle at all between those. Like they struggle with how to get there, but they don't ever struggle with that being the decision.
Yeah.
But Batman does. And so it's nice to have Catwoman because now we have two people that ride that line of what is really good and what is really evil. And we have two people that are like, that don't. And so what I want is like the book where they all four come together, and it's kind of like the extended version of Batman versus Superman, where we see that actual conversation where they talk about like what is good and evil. Only in the extended version and not in the regular version. And so yeah, it's just really great to like actually have like that conflicting. Like we've got the one boy that is conflicted and the one girl that's conflicted, and then we have the two, like the one girl and the one boy character who are not as conflicted. And so it makes for a good balance. So I'm glad they chose Catwoman. It's kind of a weird but choice because the other three are all like the big name heroes, but Catwoman is probably one of the most well-known anti-heroes in comic books ever, period. Everybody knows who Catwoman is. So I think it makes sense. So we have
I think they could have done Harley, but
they could have, but the problem
as established
also,
or older.
I think so, yeah.
And
but also
problematic sometimes.
There you go. I was gonna say I think that part of Harley's story is to.
This is not for this
yeah.
stream, but I have to.
But I think like it would not have been as much like Selena Kyle stands on her own, and you can't really tell Harley's